Hey guys, welcome back to Boyer Academy Podcast. Again, like I say every week, I've got an amazing guest, and I'm really excited to jump in. We've already been chatting for a little bit, so I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself, and we're going to get this going. How's it going?
Good. My name's Miranda. I am the operating owner of 6 Emo's Pizzas. I grew up in the business and got into the ownership in 2021.
That's awesome. What when you say you kind of come up in the business, how is that?
So as a kid, my grandparents actually owned the Emo's in Troy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think they got it in the late 90s. After them, my aunt owned it. And then I worked there from the time I was 14.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did various other things over the years, but always came back to Emo's.
Yeah.
And then when my business partners took over from my aunt, they didn't have the means to run it, like the skill set.
Yeah.
They have full-time jobs. And I was there, and I was just delivering pizzas. I had done every position, and I had stepped down for management. And after about 6 months, they finally talked me into stepping in, and they're like, we need to lock her down. So they pulled me into the ownership group.
How do you feel about that? How do you like it?
I really enjoy what I do. It's really challenging sometimes. I learn a lot. I didn't know anything about like insurance or payroll or like HR type stuff until I got into this. And it feels like every new project we do, I'm constantly learning new things.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, and things change too.
Yeah. We started off with just the one. In 2023, we added 4 more at the same time. That was a huge project.
Ooh.
Huge project.
And coming in not as the builders, but as purchasing them is even even a bigger, I would say a bigger challenge than, I decided to open a new, start it fresh, right?
Yeah,
you guys purchased ones that were already there.
We purchased them that were already operating. We kept the whole staff, just stepped in and hey, we're here. And we came in as very present owners from an ownership that had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
The prior owner just let his staff.
Yeah. So you see that a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And then we added our 6th one this past October, and it was super rushed. I think from the time that we started discussing it to closing day was about 2 months.
Wow. Very fast.
Yes. Yeah, we got a really great deal on it that we
That's good.
couldn't pass up.
That's good. That's got to be hard, though. What are some of the challenges of my mindset always when it's a business, building it up? Because I've been in the position of trying to sell one. I've went through negotiations to sell my painting company at one point. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of things I just didn't think of, or a lot of things the people on the other side of the table would ask for that I was well, that's not really feasible. I had one was well, I want to go around and meet all your subcontractors you work with before we sign anything. I'm well, that's not really feasible to take you around everybody because we don't have an actual operating contract with them. They just use us.
Right.
That didn't make a whole lot. I was they could, if they don't like you, maybe they dump me and then you don't buy it. So that was just kind of weird. So what was that kind of like going in as, hey guys, we're the owners now?
So when we acquired the 4 stores at once, it was actually pretty easy. It came with my right-hand man. His name's Tim. He oversaw all 4 of those stores already, and we had kind of already integrated him into how we do things the first couple months before closing, and it helped a lot. And we had went around and introduced ourselves to all of the staff that happened to be there that day, and they took it in stride pretty well. The one we just bought in October was a little different. The owner has had that store since the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, someone that's been present for a long time.
And he was a full-time employee. He worked 60, 70 hours a week in the store. So for him to let go it didn't go well.
Yeah, that's hard.
He still stops by every couple days and just hangs out.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. Hard.
And he likes things done a certain way, and we don't do anything like the way he does them. He allowed his employees to argue with him and yell at him. I had one that tried to argue with me, and I fired her on the spot, and she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, can't just argue with your boss.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
She called me unprofessional and
Yeah.
unpersonable or something, and I'm like,
Nope, see ya.
well, go find someone else to work for then, if you don't like it.
Super simple.
Yeah. She was just mad I wouldn't schedule her with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, I've had so many stupid things like that. Not with my teens at the school. Like with them at the school, the ones that help with class, it's more of like educating them on how life works. Hey, if you're going to miss a shift, I get it, but reach out to one of the other people. You guys are all friends. You all have social media. See if one of them wants to cover. Even if there's not going to be a certain amount of tables. I could teach class I go around and teach classes of 200 kids. Like I could teach that class all by myself if I wanted. So it's not a life-changing thing, but it's to teach them that you need to be here early or on time, but on time is 15 minutes early. Like you doing different things. Whereas with like the painting company, it is, I don't want to work in that neighborhood today. Why? Well, because I was going to go to my boyfriend's after work or my girlfriend's and they live over here. I want to go to that job. It's closer. No. Why not? And I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with adults. So I'm like, with them, like we'll have conversations like that, but it's more of me trying to educate them for when they do go into the real workforce, someone's going to be like, tell somebody in your life thank you for teaching it. It's going to make a manager's life easier somewhere at some point. That makes me feel better.
Accountability and work ethic.
You
and even just
owe
general
them.
Respect. Yeah, like, what do you mean?
I have had so many painters. I show up. Cool. That's part of the job thing. Like you have to show up and produce.
That's only the first step in this. Like,
yeah. No, I get that, and it's. I see it making a turn because I see a lot of people talking about it, having the conversations, teaching, but at the same time, it's wild. We get that with the martial arts. Well, we've been here for 2 years. Why doesn't my kid get a black belt? Well, it's not ready.
Don't you have to qualify for it?
That kid over there just tested. Yes, they come 5 times as much, or they do this, or they do. My kid wants his black belt. Okay. Like I've had people before. Well, my kid wants this. I'm like, and
they have to work for
and they just stare at me, and I'm like, and it's very few. I have that conversation extremely rare, just because of the culture we've built. But like you and I talked the other day, like having all those businesses and having those people like. The branding's probably simple because it's emos. You know, there's a lot of that stuff that's probably easy, but the culture and the maintaining that contact. I mean, what are some challenges you come across with that, or ways you found to do it?
The culture. I don't know if you've ever worked in restaurant industry.
For a very short time, never, ever, 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 ever do it again.
It's very easy for it to become a culture that is so negative. And everybody's miserable, and nobody wants to be there.
Bitch and complain, constant.
Yes. Yep. We work really hard to combat that.
Yeah.
We have bonus programs. We have referral programs. We have a bonus pool that is specifically only for our employees, that when you perform above and beyond, or say you get a really great Google review that specifically is for you, you'll get a bonus out of it.
Nice.
Like, we want our people to be happy working for us. We want them to enjoy their jobs, so we reward them for that. When they do a good job.
And you've seen positive results with that?
We have, yeah. There's one store that their margins are just out of this world. They perform amazingly. Last month, they bought a $400 coffee maker out of their bonus pool fund just to have at the store.
Nice.
So
that's a good bonus.
Yeah.
It's something nice to have. It increases morale. Everybody's got it. Yeah.
For Christmas, they all get gift cards and gifts and parties. We try to create an atmosphere that people enjoy coming to.
That's really cool. And that's so important too with business, but then it's one of those, like for me, it's Taekwondo school. It's easy to promote that. We do movie nights. We do different things. I've raised some of them and those kids that are helping teach now. You know, Riley, you'll see over the summer a little bit. She took an internship this year, so not as much, but it's been me 11 years. I've got several. Bella just hit 8 years, I believe. So it's different than like when I had the painting when we had 6 crews running for a painting company. It is keeping morale up and keeping things going and stuff when you've got so many locations and you've got that hierarchy of employees.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
We put a lot of pressure, not negative pressure, but a lot of pressure on our managers. Probably 50-ish% of our managers' income is bonus based.
Nice.
But their bonuses are based not only on the store performance numbers like labor and food cost, but also on their reviews, rewards signups, which are things that their employees do. So when they push their employees to do better, they do better.
Yeah. And that's an important part. That was something we struggled with the painting company. It was like I tried to institute bonuses. If a customer gives you guys a 5-star review, which all they had to do is hit a thing on their tablet and it would shoot it over to them, you would get a bonus. Well, the foreman would get bonuses, and they weren't smart enough. Like if I was in that position, when I was a manager for Jiffy Lube, I got bonuses. I would pump some of my bonus money and do something for my guys.
Yeah.
If they didn't qualify, however it was set up that month. Well, the foreman would get it, and then I had employees that were getting cynical and purposely being rude because they were mad at the foreman. And they're like, well, he doesn't share it with me. I'm like, well, it's $20 for every review. And then I had another guy's like, well, I do new construction. They don't write reviews. So then we had to kind of restructure that.
Yeah.
Or they would sweet talk the homeowner. We ran across this a lot. They'd be like, that employee was amazing. They were great. I'd be like, but you got a whole list of complaints. Well, that's because of you. You rushed him or you did this. And I'm like, I wasn't even there. I was like, so then what I did is if you got a list of complaints and a callback, you didn't get your bonus. I don't care how much you sweet talked them into telling you, because I would have people that would blame me and say, well, it's because you guys didn't buy them new roller covers. I'm like, they had brand new roller covers, lady. They cut a corner
and use the old ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
or whatever it was. It was always somehow my fault. Like one lady was mad that the guy didn't she gave him put like $100 tip on the check, and I said that's fine. We clear a check, I'll give you a tip. Well, I found I only put one coat on it. He's supposed to put 2. She called us back all mad about it. And somehow it was my fault. And he was mad he didn't get his money. And I'm like, no, I had to send you back to go fix your work.
That's how it works as the owner. It sucks. It's
I was like, yeah, but it was just so
everything
wild.
falls back to you. And
yeah.
like these employees, if they perform poorly or treat people badly, they look at you like you're just out here kicking them in the shins. And it's...
I have customers all the time. I've had several customers over years. I don't like this color. Well, ma'am, I have it in paperwork. We have our signed contract. We have all this. I'm not paying. You pick the color. I don't like it. Oh yeah, I've had to sue 3 that refused to pay because they changed their mind on their color. One lady's like, this color looks blue. I'm like, it's a shade of blue. It says it on the sticker. You picked it. Yeah, it's wild the world we live in with that stuff. But combating that as you have more locations, you have more employees. You know, more, new level, new devil. There's always more.
There is, yeah.
You know.
And the bigger you get, the more you have to think about, like, back-end stuff. Like, we have to start offering 401ks because we have so many employees. Last year, we started up health insurance because we have so many employees. And it's, like, learning...
And that stuff costs a lot of money, and people do not realize it.
No, they don't.
They do not. Even other business owners that just 1099 don't realize that once you make that jump, so I remember having that talk with my wife. I'm like, I want to offer 401k. I want to do all this stuff for our painters, all this, but it's going to change our whole dynamic of how we paint because we're not going to be the cheap guy. We're going to be the most expensive one on the block now.
Yeah.
And the back end to watch the amount of paperwork and compliance and audits and...
Yeah, people don't think about that stuff when they get into business ownership. There's licenses, permits you have to have, inspections, like, because we have a brick and mortar. Your business moves around, but... You know, we have to have inspections relatively frequently. All this stuff that you have to be able to keep track of and pay for. And
you got to pay an employee to do it. So, like, I would get people with a paint job. They'd be like, you got 2 guys here and a 5-gallon bucket of paint. Why'd that cost me $3,000? And it's like, well, because I had a sales rep that came out, wrote everything up, and answered 700,000 of your messages and questions. I have the office manager that's coordinated it all, help coordinate the crews. They all have insurance. They all have a company van. They all have a company gas card. They all have, none of them ever took it, but they all have the option for a Roth, simple IRA. They had all this stuff that we did. And people are like, well, that's BS. You guys charge me. I'd even have employees. You charge me. You made $5,000 on a paint job, and I got $25 an hour this week. It's like, bro, I didn't make $5,000. But the people, there's such a disconnect.
They don't think about the overhead on all this stuff.
Well, and a lot of people getting into business don't. And I've always warned new business owners, especially if it's guys I know that are in the contracting space or martial arts that are kind of wanting to level up, that keep in mind, to bring in the good employees, to bring that in, you're going to have these things, and you need to figure that part in. Like, I had 3 people in my offices and 12 painters in the field, and somebody pulled something, the girls were like, I would just fire 2 of them. And I'm like, 2 of them leave, one of you leaves. And they're like, whoa, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't need 3 of us for 10 painters. I need 3 of us for 12. So I think I should probably have a talk with them, work something out before we just let them go, or maybe bring on another person. Because it was always just fire everybody. That's everybody's solution. Just fire everybody. And I was like, the way this math balances out, there has to be a certain amount of field guys to equal, just like you have to have a certain amount of sales to have so many people. Like
for the labor to make sense.
Yeah, it has to make out. And people would always like, oh, that's horrible. I'm like, well, I don't need the 3 of you.
Yeah. And
if
the food
I've got
industry,
6 painters.
Nobody understands that either. Like the labor versus sales versus food cost. Like it is the hardest balancing act ever. And like the margins are so thin in the food industry. Like inflation is killing us.
Yes. No, and for sure. And I because I worked at a restaurant and I was like really in anything business wise. So I watched a lot of Restaurant Impossible, a lot of those different shows where I really understood the math of everything. It is, and it changes. I try to tell people all the time, I may pop an order into a supplier and it went up $5, a shirt, whatever it is. It's not, I'm not locked in. They may change prices. Yeah. Shipping may double all of a sudden because something at the ports. I ordered like $5,700 worth of gear one time, and it cost me $5,200 to get it into the U.S. through the port because, and it ended up, I think there was some type of a licensing issue with the supplier. Okay. I didn't know what was going on, but I had to learn how to get stuff through customs. And I had to find out that only certain custom agents can get certain things through custom. Like it was,
challenging.
It was very challenging. Like you have a specialty. There are some people that get furs through. There are some people that get car parts through. Like we got lucky. A friend of mine's aunt knew a guy that got clothing through and was able to get us our stuff just by like just reaching out to people in our network going, hey, and it ends up a buddy of mine started a clothing company out of LA. It was like, I got a connection for you. And they, I think I still had to pay them a couple $100, but non-business owners don't really think about all of that stuff.
No.
And like I said, even newer business owners are like, oh man, it must be great to be where you're at. And it's like,
that must be nice.
Well, not even the must be nice. Like the guy that's out there busting their hump, working for someone else, looking at you going, oh man, it must, hey, I don't want to say like must be nice, like, oh, you got all this money, but it must be nice to be in your position. Like I'd take off a half day and go do something with my kids if they were out of school. Yeah, but I worked 16 hours on Sunday because I knew it wasn't that I just dropped all my responsibilities. And you're probably there
as an owner, your work doesn't go anywhere. It just, if you have something you need to do, it just shifts to a different time.
Ooh, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, I mean, like, so since I became an owner, I've had 2 kids. I had doctor's appointments. I didn't have super great pregnancies with either of them, so there was a lot of doctor's appointments. But yeah, I didn't slack on my work. I just moved my work around to fit into my schedule, and still got everything done.
Well, and when people think freedom too, there's levels of the freedom. You have the freedom to move your work around.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, oh, it'd be great if I could do that, which there are some industries where as an employee you can do that. I know guys that work locally that their boss has things set up where they can leave in the middle of the day if they have to for something. The way my stuff was set up, my employees couldn't do that. I can move someone around, cover something, try to be flexible, but...
Well, we got to have some perks as business owners. I mean,
for all the work. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is everybody thinks you should do all the work. We would get a lot of painters that would quit because they're like, I ain't working here if he ain't painting. I'm like, why would I put all this work in? I could paint for cash by myself and make a lot more money. I did it. I was there, but I built it up and structured it so I have this freedom. Why would I do that when I could, like, I traded one pain in the butt for another. Which one did I want?
I kind of have a different philosophy on that. And maybe it's different because it's a different industry.
Yeah. What is it?
When I work in the stores, or I do work in the stores, I have an office in Troy.
Yeah.
If I go to one of the other ones, I'll work in the dining room on my computer. But if they need help, I get up and go help them.
Yeah.
If they're busy. If they're short-staffed, I'll put my stuff aside for a couple hours.
Yes.
And go help them through their rush.
Well, and I'll do stuff like that, but what we would run into was I would be getting all the foremen loaded up in their trucks in the morning, and I wouldn't be loading a truck up to go paint a job also. And it was like, well, if you're not going to go paint, and then it was a catch-22 because then when I would show up on the job site, they would be telling the actual foreman, when's he going to leave? Because they had to work harder. but it wasn't
I get a lot of that one too. When I'm on site, they all best behavior.
Yeah, everybody's exhausted when you leave. And it's like, why are you exhausted? You're doing the same thing you always do, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, because like we, and I get it. That's another trade-off too. You understand that they're going to do about 80%. They're not going to do it. But what we would run into is, well, I just don't know if I can get this job done this week. Okay, I'll come help you, or I'll do this.
Yeah.
It was just a like a sour grapes thing. I would be leaving to go to the gym after getting them out in the morning. And they were upset I wasn't having to go spray paint all morning too. And it's like, well, if we're in a pickle, because I've done that several times where I've went in on a Saturday, if the crew had to work a Saturday, we were all going in, I'd go and work with them if it was possible. And to motivate them, to be there, show them, listen, I'm not working you guys all weekend. And now granted, they were getting time and a half. They were getting tons of money to go do this. But I would go in with them as like moral support, buy lunch, show up that morning with breakfast, whatever. But we would get guys just straight up. That'd be like your kitchen staff leaving and be like, she ain't back here baking pizzas all day. I am. I'm out of here. It's like, well, do you want a paycheck? Because I've got to do payroll.
Right.
Trust me, I'd rather throw I always tell guys.
I'd rather make pizza so much than do payroll.
Me too. I'd like, dude, guys, if you had to see some of the crap I have to sit and do on a computer, like I would rather just cut in lines. I used to put on a podcast or a book, earbuds in, and cut in all day.
I can't even do that. I can't focus on what I'm doing if I'm trying to listen. I mean, I can do music,
really?
But I can't do a podcast or book.
See, I hate listening to music, but I can, if I put a book on, all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, day's over with. Like I just get wrapped up in the book and just go, if it's cutting in. Now, if I'm creating stuff on social or like doing things where I need to communicate or multiple tasks going, I can't. I could. A
lot of my work involves numbers. And I can't just differentiate, like if I'm listening to words and trying to do numbers, they're
I could see that when I'm sitting down doing payrollers. I can't. I can't have a book on for that. But just cutting in, working on the job site all day long. Yeah, because it's rolling walls, it's cutting in, it's repetitive, I guess is the way to put it. But yeah, like when I'm doing bookkeeping, so no, I gotta have quiet if I'm doing math, because I like to double and triple and like work through, because I'm not inherently, I wasn't an A student, so
numbers always made sense to me.
Did they?
Yeah.
See, mine did for me once I got into business and I had something to wrap them around that I could tie it together. Because it was like, okay, cost of goods, all that math works great for me. But if you throw out algebra or geometry, I'm out the window. I'm done. But if you tie it into business where it's something that makes sense.
I did not know a single thing about Excel when I got into my position. And I learned how to write formulas and like do all that stuff because we use spreadsheets for almost everything.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And it was really cool learning how to do that, and like really rewarding for myself to be like, I made that spreadsheet and I made all those formulas.
So that's a good point. Good segue there. So you found it rewarding that you made those. You did it. They look good. You created it. Do you find, or are you naturally kind of that person, like you take pride in the things that you do, no matter how big, how small?
Very much so.
And how? Like, what are some things?
So I'm actually off work this week. Okay. I took off. I am building a fence at my house. Yeah. Because I live in a really old farmhouse. I got it about halfway done yesterday. I got some of the panels put up, and I'm like, man, that looks so good. Yeah. I just built myself a fence.
That's cool.
I can do anything. Yeah.
That's cool. So that's something that I always have. I've always told people it wasn't that I was good at everything I do. I just take pride in it. That's why I like painting. That was what attracted me to it. So I leave the house. I'm like, cool, a customer. My favorite part would be getting the house done about a half hour before they got home, so we could have everything cleaned up. They didn't come into our tools everywhere. Yeah. And they walk in, they're like, whoa, it just looks so good. And knowing that I did that, and then the next day it's different. Yeah. And I find that when we do have an issue on a job with that, it's a lack of just taking pride in what you do. Really, that's how you left it? Yeah, it's just the product was it's like, but you didn't. Like, I will sit down and figure a solution. I had a customer the other day upset about something. I was like, give me a minute. I'm not telling you I'm not going to fix it, but you're trying to tell me to go watch a YouTube video. I'm trying to figure out what was done wrong because I've done these a million times, but you're wanting to know why I didn't watch the video. Ma'am, I didn't do the door. I own it. I'm trying to figure out what the employee did.
Accountability is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, just give me a second. And fixing it. Yeah. And it's mainly pride. We did what we do on it and what we do for all the other customers. They wanted something different. So I'm fixing it just purely out of pride of wanting to do it, wanting to do what's right.
Yeah.
But I take pride in what I do. I take pride in when you guys come in the Taekwondo school, it's clean. It's organized. Inherently, most martial arts schools are a little funky.
Are they?
It kind of goes with, some are really bad, but most of them are a little, like there's just typical things that almost every school has. Mine doesn't. Could I get away with that? Yes. Do I know? Because the thought of people coming in is like having guests over the house. I have to clean it all up, have to have everything in place.
Yeah, it's a representative of you.
Yes, and I take that.
It has your name on it.
Yes, and I take that personally. And that's something I'm trying to teach Ben and Jocelyn without making them egomaniacs, that this is our dojo, is that it's your name on the door too. Take pride in how it looks.
Yeah.
You see something on the, pick it up, because guess what? You're on the door too. It's not just me. But I'm like that, whereas I find a lot of people are not. Like my work van, my work truck, always clean. Now I've used that to sell big jobs because people are like, wow, your work truck's clean. Most employees just trash the work truck. Why?
It's not theirs.
Yeah, but why? And what bothers me is, why do you have to hold them accountable for something as simple as just taking pride in, like, you're in there every day, like it's gross.
Yeah.
But I find that a lot of people that are in business have that same, like, we just take pride in the things that, I'm good at, like you said, built a fence. I do things around the house. I'm like, I did that. Looks good. Makes me happy. Feels good to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't come from, like, uppity beginnings. I came from, like, a pretty crappy family and never imagined that I would be here. So all of the things that I've accomplished throughout my life, the biggest being emos, is, like, really freaking proud of that.
That's good, and you should be.
Yeah.
You should be. Yeah, it's really cool. In general, it's really cool, but even at your age, female-owned, 6 locations, you have partners, but still that you're doing it. You literally went from doing deliveries to running these. That's huge.
Yeah.
Most people would have freaked out, been like, no, there's just no way, and then spent the rest of their lives making excuses when they're still delivering pizzas on why they didn't make that jump, why they didn't do it. So taking pride in that, you should take pride in that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's something, like I said, a lot of people wouldn't do it. Why do you push so hard to do it?
Because I want my kids to have better than I did.
Yeah.
I want my kids to be happy and not have to want for things and not have to work 2 jobs through high school. Like, I want them to be comfortable and set for their futures. I want to teach them that money is important and the way that we treat money is important.
The relationship with money is extremely important.
I was never taught that. It was so hard as an adult to teach myself how to save money. And I'm still not amazing at it.
Yeah.
But I do way better than I did as a teenager.
Yeah. Well, it's something, too, that I find with a lot of business owners. You got that little bit, like you said, you didn't come from a good upbringing like that. Like, you have that chip. You have that chip on your shoulder that you're going to work harder to make sure it's there. My father passed away recently. Everything he had was maxed out in debt. Nothing was done. Funeral wasn't paid for, nor planned. Nothing was done. I literally took that as, okay, goal. Make sure everything I do will be taken care of so my kids don't have to deal with that. But also teach them to take care of that. My dad at 78 years old, 79 years old, refied his house again because his credit card bills, because he just wouldn't stop spending stupid stuff. Like, you have to have that good relationship with money.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. Like, I want to teach my kids that, and I want to leave them, whether they were to take the business over or not, teach them to where whatever they go into, they would do really well at it.
Right.
And I find that's a lot of business owners are like that.
I want them to learn, like, that you do get rewarded when you work hard too. Like,
yes. If
you work hard, you can accomplish things too. No matter what you come from.
Well, and I think you'll see too, with yours being younger, as they grow up, you'll notice that those lessons do get absorbed. I watch now that my kids are getting a little older, like I watch for habits they pick up from me and their mother with our work ethic and the way we do things. Like, they still are kids. They'll still fight it, and they still keep their room messy, whatever. But you'll start noticing tendencies. You'll start noticing things that kind of reward you on that too, to where you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
They are seeing your role and seeing that as, oh, that's really cool, because you always hear horror stories. We always knew that kid who, my dad owns this, or my parent.
My kids
We always knew that person. And that's why, like I said, it's really hard with Teacher Ben Jocelyn, the responsibility to behave and do things at the school because their name's on the door without them being like, my name's on the door. Like, not, like, that's a fine line to walk.
Like, so when my grandparents and aunt, they all owned Emos prior to me, my grandpa was also the mayor of Troy, Mark Cross.
Yes, I put that together.
Yeah. And I have a family member that is his daughter, would always kind of slide that into things, and I'm always like, no, we don't, not using that to my advantage.
Well, and it's such a weird thing to do. I hit a spot with my businesses in town where I had someone reach out and they wanted to do family portraits for me. I was like, nah, I'm kind of good. I didn't need to explain to them. My oldest stepson had moved in with his dad. It was a touchy subject at home. My wife was dealing with it. So I didn't want family photos.
Yeah.
But I also realized that he was only doing it to get clout in Troy, to be like, because the businesses were big. I was doing a lot of the parades, doing a lot of stuff, won some awards at the chamber. Like, not that my name was huge, but it was getting to where people knew it. And I was like, wow, okay. And I remember that being the first time I realized that someone was reaching out to do something just because of what they would get off of being like, oh, I took all Matt's pictures, or I did this for Matt. Like, I was like, oh, wow, okay. That it was odd, or we did a lot of giving away, a lot of charity work and stuff, and I would have people come up and do a trial at the school, and then things have just been rough. And I was like, whoa, you went through all the trouble to do the 2-week free trial to try to sell me on how sad you are to get me to give you, like, I've had some just blatantly reach out. I heard you do scholarships when you got one available. I don't. Which I do, but the way I do them is if someone in town, a business owner, lawyer, cop, something comes to me with a child that is struggling, and they're like, you know what, this kid could use martial arts, say no more. It's good.
If they could genuinely benefit from it.
Yep, that's how it
Not
works.
Just because you want your kid to do it and you don't want to pay for it. Or
yes, but it was wild when you got to that point. But there are people that will use that name. So, I mean, it is what it is. But
yeah, my family's pretty well known in Troy, and I've never used that as a crutch, if you will. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those, like, it's just trying to remember. Oh, I had a mayor, not of Troy, call our paint shop one time, wanted a bid. And they're like, okay, we can get you on. We were booked out like 3 weeks. And he told Dina, like, you know who I am? And she's like, listen, sweetheart. She was from Eolia. She's like, I'm from Eolia. I don't give a fuck who you are. And I was like, high five, because my sales rep was like, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so. Oh, we got to give them a bid. And I was like, no, we don't. Just the whole attitude of the phone. Like, do you know who I am? Like, do you realize who I am?
You're in Missouri. There's no reason you should ever say, do you know who I am?
No, and I've met people that are like just really famous that would never do that. Like, they're just so down to earth that, like, do you know what I do? Like, no. Yeah. Like, I get people recognize me from the podcast. It's still weird. People are like, oh, I love your podcast. I'll be like, huh? Or, hey, they'll bring up, like, something I posted with the podcast. I'll be like, oh, okay. I don't know. At the school, it's like, I don't know. It's just different. Like, with people coming in the school that know who we are, it's like, okay, it's Boyer Academy, whatever. Like, that doesn't.
It's probably weird to think that people watch this and, like, it genuinely, like, interested in the things that it blows my mind that people would be interested in what I have to say. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it. Like, I'll put stuff up, but I mainly put it up just because I understand that social media is about posting more stuff. I have this just because I love having these conversations with other business owners. This is my networking. I don't go do the networking events. But when I did my first episode, I was like, ooh, great conversations, and I can do this every week. Sign me up. Yeah. Like, one of my goals has been to grow it enough that I can do 2-3 of these. Joe Rogan does like 3 a week. I mean, he's the biggest one in the world, but I would die if I could put out 3 a week. Like, I always tease these guys. I'm like, that's the goal. Let's get big enough. I can just come in every day and do one, because I just enjoy the hell out of it. But I get what you're saying. It's weird to wrap around that. Now, as a female business owner, younger, what type of pushback do you get because of that?
A lot.
You didn't even breathe.
A lot.
It was a loaded question.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier, my right-hand man, like, if him and I meet with a contractor or somebody that's coming in, they just gravitate towards him. I had one guy from an internet provider that came in to fix something and flat out ignored me. Like, I tried to speak to him and he flat out ignored me and talked to my right-hand man. And I'm just like, okay. And I could tell by the way my employee was looking at me that he picked up on it too and was like, whew.
This is the first rule in sales I was ever taught. Vern told me, he goes, when you sit down, when doing sales, like to enroll people in class, which one engages? Sit down with them, the husband, wife, whoever sits up and says, okay, whichever one looks you, he goes, that's who you're talking to because that's the decision maker. He said, you don't have to ignore the other person, but you need to engage with them and feel it out. Don't just be like, all right, honey, play with the kids. Let's do some guy talk here. Because he was teaching me back then, and Vern was older. He ran Safety Clean in the 70s, but he did sales for years, and even back then he was like, even in the older days, the woman made the decision. Like the husband might sit there like he's in charge, but he goes out to the car and says, all right, honey, what can we do? So that's the first rule of thumb. Yeah, like I said, I got that a lot. I was 28 when I opened the school, and people would come in, just walk right past me to my dad, and he had no access to the bank account, so I would just sit there and chuckle. Just be like, Now, do you think it's more because female or because you're young?
I think it's both. I mean, yes, I'm younger. I look young. But being a female, I'm a small female. I'm not like, I don't think that I look like somebody who's necessarily in charge. And people look that over, except my employees. They all seem very intimidated by me. They are very intimidated by me. And I don't know if that's just because of I'm the authority or what, but I have been told I'm intimidating in the past.
I could see that though.
I'm very serious.
Well, you're probably work related. Let's get to the tax. I've got multiple locations to manage, so that would come off as kind of spooky, because you're probably, when you're in there, you're thinking of the task you have to do. You're not thinking of, hey, what's up, guys? You know, because you're still doing so much. You're the operations one, so you're the one doing stuff. Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't really feel comfortable being like friends.
Yes.
With a lot of them, like some of them I am genuinely friends with. I'm a boss first, but it's not. I don't want to become close like that to all of my employees, because that puts me in an uncomfortable position.
It's very hard. That's, like I said, that's one of my biggest hurdles at the martial arts school is the kids that teach and help, the teens. They've been with me for 8-10 years. They are like little children or siblings of mine. As I get older, it's more like they're my kids. And so it is a weird path to cross, because maybe I'm helping one of them out. Maybe maybe they're working there to help with classes because I'm trying to give them guidance, not really just an employee-employer relation. But then with the painters, it hurt me because, like, I had a friend that has a construction company, and he would talk about when they got back to shop, they'd all pop a beer and sit and chat. And I'm not that. Like, I'll have the comp team over. We've in all the years they've been there, they've only been to the house like 3 times to watch UFC fights. I'm not big on crossing it. Even when I worked at Jiffy, I did not hang out with my employees. I had bosses that hung out with all of us all the time, but when I never hung out. I've always been the same way. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't have anything against them.
I don't either.
I don't want to hang out on a Friday night because I know you're going to screw something up later in the week, and I'm going to have to be boss again, and now it's going to be weird. Yeah. How have you thought to overcome that? Or I should say deal with that.
I'm a generally pretty shy person. I mean, it might not seem like it because I'm sitting here having an hour-long conversation, but generally I'm really shy. So I don't know. I don't force them to talk to me. I don't go out there and be like, so how are you today? Yeah. You know, if they went.
You tried to be genuine. That was so sarcastic. That's exactly how I would do it too. Yeah. Yeah. No, I struggle when they do.
I say hi. Yes. I do. When I'm walking through the stores, I say hi to everybody. If it's somebody that like one of my managers that I talk to frequently, I'll be, genuinely say, how you doing? Yeah. But the regular like cooks and frontline and drivers staff, I guess I don't engage that much aside from saying hi.
Yeah. And that's,
I don't know if that's a flaw or if that's how I should be doing it.
And that's the thing. Like, I know there's people out there that would say it's a flaw. And then I know other ones that, it was, I've had people call me and say, hey, we hired so-and-so, he was your painter. I'm like, oh. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I went through 47 of them last year.
Yeah.
Like I really got to a point where it was like, nice to meet you. Can you paint? Cool. And I would tell my 5 foremen I had at the time, call me if I need to fire them this afternoon. And they just became another number. And that's a terrible way most people would say to look at it. But that was the truth of the matter because of the turnover I had. Well, that's why you have the turnover. No, it was just the way the job was set. But I honestly, I would have guys come in and, oh man, it was just so rough this week. Cool. It's 5:30 in the morning. We're getting the trucks loaded. Like I'll give like 10 minutes to like BS for a minute. And I'd be like, all right, so trucks, let's go.
Yeah.
Here's your paint. Here's this.
And that's what I feel like too. If I do like bullshit with them or, joke around with them and stuff, that creates an atmosphere where they get to do that all the time.
Yes.
And I don't want that either.
Yes.
Like,
Do you find, or are you just a very kind of brass tacks, let's get stuff done type of person just in general?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just I'm here to get my job done. Like, let's do it. Even when you did work, like it wasn't, oh, I'm going to clock into work for social time. No, I need to get my deliveries out. I need to get paid. I'm here for tip,
I think I was probably, I've been in there since I was 14. So I'm coming up on 18 years. Actually I probably am at 18 years. When I was a kid, yeah, I goofed off and played on my phone and was dumb. And the older I got, the more I realized the harder I work, the better I feel about myself, the better my managers look at me. Maybe more pay, maybe I eventually got up to store manager. So, I lost my train of thought.
Being focused, down to brass tacks, serious.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a big hurdle I overcame with the school. Bella's mom and I have talked about it, Tanya, a couple times. Like as my teens, all the ones you see helping with class now. So I've had a couple fluctuations of teens that have come up, but it was like 2. This last group, there was a bunch of them. Now Kendall, Madeline, Riley's already off at school. There was a bigger core group of them. And as they all kind of came up in age together, I had to learn to loosen up and let them have that social time. That's why we have that big front desk. So let them talk, let them and have fun with my classes, because I was such a stuffed shirt. Like, what are you guys all here at the counter making noise for? Let's get to work.
When
we got classes
very
to
first
teach.
met you, I was like, this man teaches kids. And he's scary a little. Because you're so loud and like demand the attention of the people that you're teaching, which makes sense.
Yes.
But
well, they'll eat you alive if you don't.
Yeah.
Even on the nights when I'm not, like, I told the staff to pay attention on the nights, because I was explaining to them the importance of training them up, because I said, you'll see nights where I'm kind of slacking, like I'm off, and you'll watch the classes will be goofier. The kids will push the ones that push the boundaries will push the boundary a lot more because they pick up on it. I was like, you'll see it.
My child.
Yeah, well, it's just how it is. It's just kids.
Yeah.
But I was explaining to them the importance of them, like, you guys, they just can't show up to be at class because I'm just going to do it every night. I love what I do, but and at one point I tried to just manage the school because I had 14 on leadership, and most of them were over the age of 16, so they were all taking turns teaching, and I thought that was great. I was there. I didn't go home. But it just killed, it just was not what people wanted. So I went back to September, October last year, teaching all the classes again.
Yeah.
Switched it all up. The energy's better. But I do have to kind of, like, I have that, I mean business look sometimes. Yeah. I don't mean to, because I love what I do.
Well, after sitting there for a couple classes, I really admire how well you do with the young kids. Like, because, yeah, you are loud and harsh, but at the same time you're gentle and like
you got to be firm but still have
towards them.
Fun with it. Like I tell everybody, I didn't dream of being a drill sergeant. I didn't open a dojo because I get off on people saying, sir, yes sir.
Yeah.
I don't have an inferiority complex, which a lot of martial artists have. Like the only thing they've ever achieved is that belt, and so they want to make sure everyone knows it when they walk in the dojo. Yeah. This is my dojo, I'm the baddest. Like I just love doing martial arts, but people are coming there not for me to be because I've never been, I always tell people, see, I was even like this with my stepsons, and I'm guilty of this with my own kids. I'm not uncle. Like, there was always that dude, it's like, oh, that's Uncle Bill, and he's like fun and wrestling and horsing around. I never was that dude. I've always been almost autistic with how like emotionless I can be about stuff. I'm here to do my job and get it done.
Yeah.
But I did had to learn to loosen up a little bit. Like, I was way worse. And Tanya had even told me that. She was like, when she loosened up, I was like, I had to, because I love the kids and the teens. My teens, they were my little kids, you know. They and I absolutely love sharing their pictures of when they were little, because it embarrasses the hell out of them now. But you'll see different things I put up. But actually next week, Emily's the podcast guest, so I'm going to send them a bunch of pictures of her when she was a color belt. So all week I get to embarrass her.
Okay.
But I realized they were coming up, that if I wanted them to be there and because they were all becoming best friends, they had trained, you know, we found a white belt photo of Bella and Kendall talking in class. They're both multiple degrees of black belt now, getting ready to go to college. And it was funny because they were actually disrupting the UFC fights, talking to each other. And I was teasing them. And then sure enough, a photo popped up and I was like, are you two talking in this photo? It was a big a selfie I took of a big class. And sure enough, they were chatting with each other. And it was funny. And you've got to, I tell people, and I've learned, because I've had the Taekwondo school 16 years now, like, you learn to walk a line of firm, but I'm not mad at them. And my coach, Aaron, teaches this too all the time. You've got to teach them from a point of love, and that you're being firm, but you're not angry.
Yes.
Like,
it took me a long time to figure out how to tell somebody they were doing something wrong without making them feel stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Because I used to be a really mean manager.
Yeah.
And part of that isn't just, I'm not mean. I'm a really nice person. The way that I talk, things come out harsher than I.
Yep. You don't have to explain that to me. It makes exact sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've learned over the years how to be really kind and still steer my staff in the direction that I want them to go.
How did you learn to do that?
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
A lot of temper control, because I definitely have a temper.
You got a lot riding on it.
Yeah. And I really worked on patience.
The biggest thing I learned with that changed a lot of it for me, because as I've gotten older, so I started out at 28, and I'm 43. The way people treat me as customers is different now. And now I'm to an age to where I'm actually older than most of the parents in the school, than a majority of them bringing in smaller children. And I would have people come to me with questions, different things, and I was like, why are they asking me? Because in my head, I'm still 25. And I'm not, I haven't aged. So, but what I learned was, like, when you come at a reprimand or calling them out, or I'm trying to think of the right word. There's a word I'm looking for. But when you do it from a place of caring, it's different.
You have to make it sound more constructive.
Yes. Well, and when you truly are trying to help them, saying, hey, listen, you're late for work. This is going to be a terrible life skill. We've got to nip this about. When you just come at them of, hey, I am really tired of you inconveniencing me by being late to work, then it's a different conversation. Right. When you come at people from a point of, hey, I want to help you out with something. That was a big change for me and what I do. Not just being like, listen, you're not doing your kick right because you're not listening to me. Instead of being like, listen, you're looking over here, you're wobbling a lot. Let me help you. Turn your head this way. It changes it.
I'm a big fan of that. Let me show you. I'm not just going to tell you, like,
yes,
you're doing it wrong. Well, okay.
Show me.
Let me show you.
And that's a benefit to coming up in the restaurant space. Yeah. You can show them, fix this. Here's how you should do that.
If I have to show you like 3 or 4 times.
Gotta go.
Yeah, then I'm going to get a little frustrated. It might not be quite as nice.
Well, and then you're just not listening at that point.
Yeah.
I've had different painters over the years that was like, they weren't the fastest, they weren't the greatest, but they were coachable. And I was like, I can really help you. I remember showing someone how to put a ladder in a hallway and angle themselves differently. And they were like, wow, you just saved my knees, because now I don't have to climb this ladder, because the way they were doing it, they were going to climb the ladder like 7 times more than they needed to. And I was like, over a period of a week, over the period of a month, that's going to add up where your leg's out. We show you this.
Yeah, the coachable people are like really valuable. I
mean, love them.
Yeah, I have several that started off, they were terrible. Terrible, but they were willing to listen and learn, and now they're some of my best employees. Yes,
being coachable and being ready to just listen and accept the fact you don't know everything. Like, I guess because of lifelong martial arts, I've always been coachable because nothing we do is ever perfect. We're always getting better.
Yeah.
I've had several martial artists on the podcast. We've talked about it. Friends of mine that own multiple businesses. We've discussed how flustered other people get, whereas some of the stuff doesn't bug us because we compete at a high level and we understand we're always perfecting. Like it's not going to be perfect, but I'm also going to put all the pieces into play to make sure I can. Like I'm not going to walk in and screw up a pizza party at the school because I didn't get a head count. Like I'm going to get a head count. I'm going to double check the head count. I'm going to make sure I got plates. I'm going to make sure I got silver. I'm going to make sure I got everything. And then if something breaks down, doesn't work, pivot, fix it. I'm not going to just walk in by the seat of my pants and be like, well, nothing's ever perfect. Well, no, you could have taken 5 minutes and fixed 90% of like, I guess that makes sense, right?
Right. You got to have a plan.
Well, and learning to deal with people, has that been like sounds like that's probably been like the math, the ordering, the pizzas, that part of it's probably been the easier side for you? Or would you say that there's been something that's been more of a challenge?
I think by the time I got into my position, had developed my people skills enough that I was a more effective manager. So I think like the numbers side of it, the ordering, all of the things that I do now has been the more challenging part of being an owner.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in restaurants and I already had developed all of the directing a staff skills that I needed, I think. And I think that might be one of the things that Jimmy and Steve, my partners, saw in me. That and my accountability.
Yes.
If I mess something up, I'm going to go to them and say, hey, I messed this up. I dropped the ball on this.
That's a life skill so many people need.
So many.
It's always somebody else. It's always something else.
Always admit if I'm wrong, if something's my fault, but I also want to fix it, like, and take care of it. Like, I don't just say, well, I messed that up.
Yeah, I've looked at so many customers over years back, we messed that up. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
Like the one the other day, I was a little flustered because she wasn't giving me a chance to explain that let me fix the door. It was, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I talked to this girl in the sales department over here that she told me what you did wrong. And I'm like, cool. I didn't do the door. I'm here to fix it. Give me a second to show. I was like, can I show you that I can fix this? I know you've already talked to Erin in sales over here. It's 25 and has never stained a door in her life, but she's telling you how I did this wrong. I've held a brush longer than that. Like I get flustered with that, but just the account, I so many different things have, we messed that up.
Without even an excuse though, being accountable without saying, oh, I didn't do that. I guess I thought I was doing this. Like,
just saying I messed up.
Just say you messed up.
I'll fix it.
You don't need an excuse behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think we can do with people to teach them that skill? Because that is something that I would love to figure out.
I think flat out telling them like that. Like,
yeah.
Hey, you messed up. There doesn't need to be a reason for it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't need you to explain to me why you messed up. If you can just tell me you messed up and we can work to fix it together.
Yeah. I don't need the excuse. I don't need to. I'm the same way. Like once. Yeah.
I'm not mad until you try to hide that you messed up.
Or explain to me that you didn't when I know you did. Like, I've learned that too. Like, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. Like, very rarely will I ever ask anything of an employee that I don't already know or a customer hasn't already called me to say. So then when they start backpedaling and everything, it's like, I'm not upset you made the mistake. I'm getting upset that you're lying to me or blaming everyone else, because it's always the employee, the paint, the supplier, the delivery guy, the phone didn't ring.
Something else.
It's always something. And it's like, I've always thought that was one of my best attributes was I messed up.
Yeah.
I'll fix it.
I think it's one of my best ones too. Yeah.
I think it's gotten me a lot further in life than book smarts or different things. Was just being able to say, I messed up, I'll do better. And then doing better, not just being like, oh, I got the boss off my ass, like actually fixing the problem.
Right.
99% of problems I've ever had that escalated once building a business, or even like I managed, if you had a guy come in, guys had an issue with his drain plug. I went downstairs to help him with it. I told my assistant manager, hey, go in, let him know. It's been taken in and out 1,000,000 times. It's stripped. I'm going to fix it. If he has a leak, something, let me know. I'll see if corporate will fix it. He's been coming here with multiple vehicles. He commuted a lot. He was a doctor. We'll figure something out. They went in and told him we had to go to the store to get his oil filter. So then a week later, the guy pulls up and he's like, hey, jackass, my car's leaking, and mouthed off. And I tossed him my cell phone. I said, call somebody that gives a shit. And I stood there like, yeah, that was fun. My DM called. He's like, hey, Matt. I'm like, what's up, Todd? He's like, so, yep. Don't even got finished that. Sure did.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to put my boots on. And he goes, because I'm going to put my foot up your. And I'm like, I know, Todd, go for it. So, but I didn't know till, because way he approached me skyrocketed my defense. Now, granted, I was 24. You know, my defense is because I was young managing, or 25, managing a Jiffy Lube. You know, I was young in the position. Caught me off guard because I felt I had done him a favor by trying to fix the drain plug because he didn't bring his car into my store normally.
Yeah.
So I was trying to fix it, but sure enough, I went through and this has happened a million times. Hey, send this customer a message, let them know this, this, and this. Or, hey, call the customer real quick, tell them this. Or tell the crew, tell the foreman, hey, walk upstairs this morning, let them know this is how things are going to be today. Give them a heads up. And then the customer's upset, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, but they did this, and no, they didn't.
Yeah, I really struggle with that. I'd rather do it myself because I know it's getting done right.
Yes.
Mindset, and that's what that just reminded me of.
That's one of the places when I built the painting company, I said I'm not going to do it all myself. And then I had that whole other hurdle of teaching and communicating that with employees, and then realizing that for what my goals were there, I couldn't do everything.
I'm a heavy micromanager, and that worked really well with one store.
6, that's got to be rough.
I have learned to pick my battles and pick the things that mean the most to me for our stores that I will micromanage. Yes. Kids playing on their phones, that's not one that the managers trip on it so hard, and I'm like, these are kids. They're allowed to have it in school. You're going to tell them that they have to come to work.
Are they getting their job done?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it matter?
As long as they don't have anything to do and they're not doing it right in front of the customers, who cares?
Yeah, me too. I'm the same way. As long as as long as the tasks are getting done. And I tell my painters that too. If it takes you 2.5 days or 3 days, I don't really care as long as it's done on the third day, or you communicate, hey, we had a hiccup. Like there's you pick your battles.
Yes. Yeah.
I would always say my big trouble too has been the trust but verify. Like when it comes to micromanaging, like I've been working my way back down to less employees and being more of a solopreneur, because I know when I say I'm going to do X, it's going to get done.
Right.
When I dive into something, I know I'm going to hit my budget because that's how I've always been. And I realize I still have a lot of learning to do in that area of as far as like training the employees and all that. Next year, I want to bring on a full-time instructor with me, but I want to find someone. I want to be in a position to pick the person I want. Because we travel all over for tournaments. There's a bunch of young dudes I know. And I say dude because I want a guy, because I want someone I can work side by side with. I've had female instructors. I have a ton of them now. I love my girls, but I want to find a guy that really wants to do this, that we can spar, we can train, we can do things that doesn't always work with a girl. We can travel to tournaments and share a room. I don't got to buy 2 rooms. But I want to find one, bring them to the St. Louis area, and then start building them up, and then help them start one, and maybe start building out locations.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it a little differently. But that's what I've been diving into, is learning more in the communication, the leadership, the way the brain works, how to phrase things, how to hold them accountable. Because we grew so fast with Boyer Painting, I didn't have a chance to learn any of that crap. Like I was trying my butt off, but I was also running and doing stuff and painting with them and jumping in. And as you know, like your job's never done.
Yeah. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at now if it weren't for one of my partners, Steve. He is one of the smartest people I have ever met in my life. He's a corporate accountant by trade, but he's a executive something or other. I don't know. His full-time job is outside of emos.
Yeah.
And the other one is too. But he does a lot of he works hand in hand with our bookkeeper and helps me develop a lot of our policies.
Nice.
And like the bonus policy. Him and I came up with that together, and like him giving me the opportunity to step into what I'm doing is the only reason I'm into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's good too when you have the partners that can do that stuff, that can be in the background working on some of that, because that's a struggle we all know as being the business owner, is you may be focused in on all of this and it's like, whoa, what about this? Like my coach Aaron, when we have a call every week, he's like, hey, don't forget to do this. It's May. I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. Whereas
Yeah.
I was total tunnel vision on our next belt graduation and our next curriculum set that we're doing. Like I had 10 other things in front of me and he's like, hey, don't forget this May 1st. Let's do this letter out. And I was like, that's a great idea. Like that stuff is huge for me because you need that other person that their brain can be over here. You guys all can't be doing the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're operating, you're running that, and they're back here going, hey, we had a little inconsistency on this number. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
And like what you said with the restaurant industry, like it's everything fluctuates. And people don't think that. People just think it's all set in stone. They think everything is a 99%
so much
markup.
Overhead.
Yeah.
On restaurants. I mean, I'm sure there are in other industries too, but food industry, like the margin is so thin.
That's how ours is in contracting because by the time you pay insurance, vans, fuel, all of that stuff, you break it all down, your work comp, and then you got to have someone in the office doing all the edits, payroll edits, work comp edits, all that, payroll fees, taxes. Yeah, it's the same thing, but all it takes is 2 jobs to go south, and it pretty well wipes out your profits for the year. It really and truthfully is a completely different business model than the martial arts school. Which that, again, doesn't have a huge one, but I'm selling knowledge.
Yeah.
What I've spent my whole life teaching. You guys aren't leaving there with a bucket of paint every night that I have to buy. The kids are learning skills, which is, I started to try to go into coaching, like business coaching stuff, and I realized this is what I do every day at the martial arts school. Just dive into that. And I found Aaron Rise to help me make that, to help really tighten me up on so much of it.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, people don't realize that the profit margins, like it's, and you don't know where there's going to be a turn.
The fact that you've got to like pay an electricity bill and pay for business insurance and liability insurance and non-owned driver auto insurance. Like, everything is so expensive.
And ain't nothing getting any cheaper. Our insurance on the vans went up. Everything. Our paint prices went up 40% last year. And people, hey, I got a bid from you 2 years ago. Why is it more? Well, because everything skyrocketed.
Most bids are only guaranteed for 30 or 90 days.
I get people try to come back with 5-year-old bids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no," and I'm like, "No, it has to be rebid. It says on the bottom."
Yeah.
But we'll get people that don't understand it. I'm like, "Dude, the paint's not." Before COVID paint and after COVID paint, it's not even the same realm anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But people don't, and it's nothing against them. They don't own a business. They don't get it. But when they hold it against you, it's frustrating because it is a fluctuate. When I started 16 years ago, I think I got T-shirts for $450, logoed, or $550 logoed, something like that. I know our uniforms, a little kid's like something your son wears like $3.50 a white uniform. Ain't happening no more. No, like cotton. I think like 6 months after I opened, cotton skyrocketed, and I was like, ugh. Our uniforms just went astronomical.
Yeah.
For the fact you come in for trial, you get it. So it was like, wow, it's something we're giving away. They're still not terrible, but they did get worse. So now, do you have plans to go bigger?
Yeah. We don't have anything solid. We've talked about branching outside of emos.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one.
I know. I'd really like to put a Smoothie King in Troy.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Whether we do it or somebody else does it, whoever. Somebody put a Smoothie King in Troy.
That'd be great. I think
know.
Anything like that. I think the trick to having something like that, having an ice cream parlor, smoothies, anything like that, is to have car shows and events and stuff on the weekends to bring people in. I think you can't just open some of that stuff and just sit there. I think you have to get really active.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's the pass by traffic is not so huge that it's going to have a line every day like it is in Chesterfield.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest trick with anything in Troy.
Yeah, we don't really know what we're going to go into.
That's cool.
Even if maybe it will be more emos, I don't know. But we have talked about branching out and doing other things.
So you're excited to go bigger.
Yeah.
Cool. So where are your locations at? So anyone listening to this, if they like it, they could frequent those. And...
Yeah. We've got Troy, Missouri. We have 4 in St. Charles County. We have one on Elm Street out by Newtown. One on First Capitol, right across from Lindenwood. We've got one on Jungerman, right by Mexico, where Jungerman crosses, and then North St. Peter's Parkway, in the Harvester area, and then we've got one in Chesterfield on Clarkson.
Nice. So they're out there a little bit. So you got a little driving. You get windshield time. Sorry.
I do, and I live in Ellsbury, so
Yeah, you get a lot of windshield time then. Well, but at least
Yeah.
Ellsbury, you shoot down 79. No, that's not as terrible
It's
as if
not
you're
that
like
bad.
Silex or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Everybody can make sure to, like and support. And I appreciate you taking time to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.